sneaky little Debbie. But one thing I do is too much.
Shout out to my mom, because can you guess which one got ironed?
Hey there, thanks for stopping by. My name's Emma B, and today I'm going to be taking you through the process of showing my debut collection at Kansas City Fashion Week. For those of y'all who may not know me, I am a fashion design student. I'm a junior this year. I am actually moving out of my dorm tomorrow morning, and so I left just this corner of my decor up on the walls. It's coming down as soon as I finish filming this, and next year I'll be a senior, but this year I decided to push myself by applying for Kansas City Fashion Week as a student designer. The first night of their Fashion Week, Wednesday night, that runway show was all students and emerging designers. They really push the education side and bringing more people into the Midwest fashion industry, so they have a lot of models who are new that end up on their roster available for designers to pick, and also a lot of the hair and makeup artists the same day that I was showing were students as well. Now I did try and vlog it, but genuinely there was a lot going on. There were a lot of moving parts, and so narrating while I'm vlogging and showing clips backstage just wasn't a possibility. Not to mention like trying to figure out the sound quality. Also very busy both in the lead up and the day of. Now I was not required to apply for my degree. Seniors at my university are required to apply to Kansas City Fashion Week, but I decided to just take a chance and apply. One of my friends is a senior as well, so we worked on our applications together, and so a lot of advice that a faculty member was giving all of the seniors, they ended up passing along to me, which helped a lot in the application process because they were given like examples of like what their portfolio should look like and how to format their application answers and that sort of thing, and to help guide me through the process of where I was going with it. Now the actual event was so amazing and also was the light at the end of the tunnel for like 4 months of really hard work. I got started on my collection in November, and so as we were getting to final season for last semester, I was frantically trying to draft as many patterns as I could before I went home for break. My goal by the time I got back from winter break was to have everything finalized and patterned and any mock-ups made that I was going to need, so that way by the time I got back, I was working on my actual pieces. The end of January, the goal was to have every piece of fabric cut out. I didn't actually reach that goal, but February was all about construction. So after the first couple days of February, cutting the last pieces out, I was just sewing, frantically sewing all of February. March was finalizing, doing some of the structural pieces. And it was a lot of late nights, especially because it was on top of my classwork already. I'm not taking a super light coursework, lighter than I have been in the past, but one thing I do is too much. So a lighter course load for me just means not a so full that if I take any more credits, I can pay extra. For the first time since freshman year, I do it to myself. I got really lucky. Kansas City Fashion Week was actually held the week of my spring break, so I didn't have to worry about classes. My partner and my best friends didn't have to worry about classes either. They were all able to drive down and go. One of my friends is from the KC area, and so they all stayed. And my mom and I booked a hotel room in more downtown KC. It was a really cute little hotel. The outside was gorgeous, and one of the front desk attendants, his girlfriend is one of the models for the Saturday night fashion show, and so he and I ended up chatting while we were getting checked in. And when I had models come to my fitting later that day, he was super chill about it. Part of the reason I had fitting in my hotel room the day before the fashion show is because the weekend before, my mom and I drove to KC for the dress rehearsal.
Honestly, I thought it would take up more space than it did. It's just kind of large. It's flat, but it's large. But everything's in there.
Which KC is about a 4-hour drive. It's just literally a straight shot across Missouri from the St. Charles area. It was one highway for many hours. Missouri is very flat. I know Kansas is even flatter, but Missouri is flat enough. We were on the Missouri side of KC, and 3 of my models were not there for my rehearsal. So my rehearsal was very short. My fittings were also short because I only had 3 of my models there. 2 of my models had cleared it. They had events out of town. Actually, one of my models was walking that weekend at Omaha Fashion Week. And so, completely understandable that she can't make it from Omaha to KC in less than a couple hours. Also, her measurements lined up nearly perfectly with one of my friends. So I was able to do fittings on my friend to make sure that it was going to fit. And because her top was a corseted top, there is a little bit of wiggle room in terms of exactly how it fits, because there can be some shifting that happens. So I got really lucky on that front. My other model, he and I worked it out that he was going to be coming to my hotel room the day before. I brought my sewing machine into the hotel room and was able to do adjustments that night. I really do want to shout out Dominique. I have not had the opportunity to make plus size male clothing before. it's not experience that gets taught at my university, and I do want to do a video talking about how fashion schools do not set students up for real world success, especially in terms of fit or anything other than a dress form. And if you would like to see a full-length video on that, I'd love to do more of those like yapping in my car videos where I'm just breaking down concepts around the fashion industry or around social commentary around fashion and styling and
not necessarily the body positivity movement, because like that has been co-opted by a lot of thin white women, and white women should not be the face of body positivity anymore. And like typically the term that I associate with most with is fat liberation, but I am a small fat woman and also a small fat white woman. So like I don't know that I should be the one to do the most talking about it, but there are a lot of really great resources about it.
And if there are any specific avenues within that, I'd be happy to talk about it. I think it'd be cool. Part of that means I don't have experience with fitting outer genitalia. I don't know how to say that without YouTube getting that. But he walked out of the hotel bathroom and was like, the pants are tight, and they were not comfortable for him. So that night I took apart the crotch seam, the inseam, and then ended up redoing the hem after I made the adjustments and let out the pants as much as possible. And they were still a little tighter than like the preferred fit I think I wanted for the pants, but he was comfortable enough to walk in them. And I really appreciate him like helping me figure that out. I want to be somebody that when I say I design for all bodies, I can prove it. And so my hope is that I get accepted to KC Fashion Week again next year so that I can pick Dominique as a model again and give him pants that fit him even better. And my other models just no-showed rehearsal. One of the models I picked up in November, no-showed, stopped responding to my emails. When I tried to call her phone, it like didn't go through. So I'm really grateful to one of the model coordinators for working with me, and I gave her the range of sizes that I thought would like fit my garments the best. And she found me Aubrey clothes, and so she was able to come to my hotel room the same afternoon as well and do a fitting, and the clothes fit her fantastic. She even did her own makeup because she also does make like runway makeup, and I gave her my concept images and she was like fantastic because I'd like to use all of my models again. They were fantastic. I love my models so much. All 6 of them were amazing. Some of my models were KC Fashion Week veterans and veterans of other fashion weeks. Obviously, one of my models had just walked in Omaha Fashion Week, but a lot of my models have been walking in KC Fashion Week for many seasons. And so when I was kind of looking like a deer in the headlights and not quite sure what to do next or what to tackle next, they were able to guide me in the right direction or give me a heads up of like, no, you do actually have like an hour and a half here to just sit and relax.
It's very bright. Improvise, adapt.
You don't have to get us into the clothes until right before the show, especially because I was not at the very beginning. I was one of the last designers to show before intermission. Doesn't mean they all need to be perfectly dressed and ready at the very top of show. They can still be getting the final piece. And especially Eileen. She is a KC Fashion Week veteran, and she was able to walk me through a lot of the process. At the end of our rehearsal, because she was there for that one, that's when we first met, she was like, I feel like such a proud big sister because she found out I was pretty young. I turned 22 like a week and a half after KC Fashion Week, and so I felt a little bit like a baby with my models because I believe all of them except for one were older than me. Some of them significantly so, like multiple decades. But I do really appreciate them being willing to take a chance on a new designer because the way KC Fashion Week works, they have a big model call, and then they select the models they are comfortable having walk the runway for them, and then they give us the model roster, and I was able to go through and pick the 6 models I wanted. A lot of designers, if they're doing one size, they will just list off all of the model numbers they wanted. I was very specific. I was like, look 1, this is the model number. Look 2, this is the model number. And I had additionally 2 backups for each of my looks. For some of my models, they were my top choice. Some of them, they were my second choice. And one of them was a random last minute swap out. And they were all amazing. And so they are all going to be my top choice next year. When I send my choices to the model coordinator, they then reach out to the models with the names of the designer who is interested in them walking which specific night. And they get to choose whether or not they want to walk for the designer. So I'm really, really grateful that the 6 of them took a chance on me and were willing to hear me out when I say, hey, you're going to be wearing a giant wire structure that's attached to your belt loops and your wrists and also the back of your shirt. And also it has a really long train on the ground. So be prepared to walk down the runway in that. And also you're going to wear lipstick. Not only was Dominique wearing that giant wire and chiffon structure, he had never worn like makeup like that before. So when he was asking if we were doing anything interesting with the hair and makeup, I was like, oh, all of the models are going to be in a very specific Cupid bow lip moment. And he was like, all of us? Okay. All right. I really appreciate my models being willing to fully trust the process. And I feel like we bonded well. My mom bought a bunch of snacks from Trader Joe's. I was able to share them with them because the models aren't paid for the show. In fact, this isn't something that I think people outside the industry know. To do fashion weeks, you pay The designers pay to do Fashion Week. So not only are they paying for all of their collections, for their transportation, for their lodgings, they pay fees. I paid a significant designer fee. It was significantly cheaper because I'm a student. There's student discount, which was amazing. It was significantly cheaper for me, but it was still a good chunk of change. And I, again, broke student, cannot afford to pay my models. Really wish I could. I really wish I had been able to. I could bring them snacks on the day off. The models also all provide their own shoes, so I worked with them. I told them what kind of shoes I was interested in. Genuinely, my biggest thing was I don't want y'all in black shoes. Brown, tan, clear, white, pale colors, whatever. Fine with me. Glossy, matte, doesn't matter. You can even be in flats. Like, ballet flats are fine. I also specified that if a taller heel is harder to walk in and you don't feel confident walking in it, I want the shorter heel or I want no heel. Maybe it's because I'm a student at university, and that means I've worked backstage on a couple fashion shows. It's really distracting when models don't walk well. The best model walks are the ones that you don't think about and you spend your time appreciating the clothes. If a model walks out and I can tell the shoes don't fit, or they're nervous, or they keep glancing down at the runway, I'm distracted, I'm not looking at the clothes. And I wanted my models to feel good, look good, and walk well. Really, the only thing was I didn't want them to be in black shoes because the runway was white and my collection had literally no black in it at all. And photos of me at the end of the runway, you can see my outfit that I changed into in a tiny little bathroom stall. A little before it was time to get the models dressed for the show, I wore a floral dress, but it had a black background and I wore black accessories to go with it. Part of why I did that is I wanted to separate myself a little bit from the collection. I knew I was going to be super overwhelmed and I was going to be very overwhelmed going down the runway, and I really wanted it to be shown that I was not one of the models. I have gotten the model now 3 times, and it was such an amazing experience. But as the designer, I wanted to look separate from the collection, and also I knew I wasn't going to be walking as well as them because I tweaked something in my hip the day before, and so I was spending all day limping around trying not to let my muscles get cold, but also trying not to overwork it too much. I spent the next 3 days after we got home on the couch with a heating pad, so it didn't really work. I was able to get down the runway without totally looking like I had a stick shoved up my... When it comes to my look for the day of, I brought my clothes in one of my garment bags along with all of my other pieces. I didn't want to have to worry about my makeup or my hair once I was there. And my call time wasn't till 1 p.m. I had only 6 looks. I had only 6 models to worry about in terms of hair and makeup. Some people were called as early as 9 or 10 a.m., especially if they had larger collections or they were planning to do photo shoots. You can pay to have additional photo shoots day of with the professional hair and makeup, or if you paid for those, your call time was probably earlier. So I had one of the later call times. I don't remember if my call time was actually 1 or 1:15. But I know I got there around 12:30. But that morning I did my own makeup and I flat ironed my hair because my hair's a little bit wavy. And it's like, when you have really, really straight hair and you go to the beach, but you don't actually get your hair wet, it fluffs up a little bit. That's what my hair does on a regular day. So I figured if I flat ironed it, I knew exactly how it was going to look. It wasn't going to change at all during the day. Even if I got kind of frazzled, my hair wouldn't look like that. And I did my own makeup, including adding lashes, which is not something I do very often anymore. And I really need to get back into practice because they took me way too long to put on. I will say I was really flattered when later in the day, one of my fellow students, she asked me which makeup artist did my makeup. And actually, the makeup artist was me. And to be fair, she'd only seen me looking like a bomb for weeks beforehand. I don't think my hair had been down in ages. Or when the Met Gala happened, I'd been wearing my hair up so much in the past couple months that one of my friends thought I was wearing extensions. And also, since then, I have trimmed off all the dead ends, so my hair is significantly shorter again. I love how I wrote out an outline for how I wanted to do this video. I turned on my camera, I sat down, and then just kind of yapped. Oh, my collection. I literally haven't talked about my collection concept. So my collection was titled The Feminine Reclamation, and it was all about women and other marginalized communities, especially intersecting ones, being told, and maybe not always told, but shown that we should apologize for taking up space. A lot of girls, I know myself included, grow up and we start hating the color pink, and we start hating things that make us seem girly because you're not taken seriously. My voice sits up here naturally. This is where my voice is comfortable, but I trained myself to talk down here because I'm taken more seriously. When I'm in places where I need to be taken seriously, this is where my voice sits. But I shouldn't have to do that. Sat me down one day and told me, hey, you should drop your voice lower so that you're taken seriously. But people respond differently. I can say the same thing, but they're not going to be taken the same way. Wearing ruffles and big skirts and lots of pink is not seen as professional, it's not seen as mature. And having fun with your makeup, again, not seen as mature, it's not seen as professional when it's just another form of self-expression. It's not a coincidence that the most feminine ways of presenting yourself are typically associated with weakness. So I really wanted to make a collection that embodied those like feminine elements. Lots of pink. There was a periwinkle fabric that I custom dyed, and also elements in multiple looks, all about taking up space. My last 2 outfits down the runway definitely were the most obviously take up space, but it was all about being unapologetically there. The way I instructed my models is I asked for them to give me like a self-assured walk, to let them appreciate getting to look at you. Obviously that isn't just for women. Dominique again and I had a really great conversation about apologizing for the space that you take up. He is a big black man and we live in the United States. Being unapologetic about the space that he takes up is an important aspect of who he is. And so having that conversation backstage, I think really showed in the way that he carried himself down the runway. His final pose on the runway where he stands just like this, and I'm just gonna put a photo of him. You don't have to see this photo. I got chills the first time I looked at it. He genuinely understood the assignment. I think fashion is political whether we want to acknowledge it or not, and acknowledging it, I think, made my collection that much better. And maybe that's a little cheesy. If it is, I don't really care. Again, not apologizing for the space that I take up. Genuinely, I just feel so honored. I don't want to say lucky because I worked so fucking hard to get me to the point where I was accepted, and then worked so fucking hard to get me to the point where I could send my designs down the runway. And I am so grateful to all of the people who supported me through it. Not only my family and my friends, but also the people on Instagram who reached out to congratulate me, my senior year classmates for supporting me because I was doing it outside of class. And I really hope that I get the opportunity again to show in the spring. I will be showing the mini collection at the end of fall semester, which is going to be a 3-look collection I am really excited for. It is still so surreal to me that this is an experience that I had. It has had such amazing positive feedback. My 101-year-old great-grandmother printed out photos of my designs, put them on a board, and showed them to her Shakespeare club. I've had some of my mom's friends on her Facebook reach out about potentially wanting to purchase clothing from me someday. The most common piece of feedback I got from the collection was that people could see themselves wearing my clothes. People liked my designs enough that they could see themselves wearing it even if it was pushing them out of their comfort zone. That is the highest compliment I could have gotten. I actually got complimented by one of the members of KC Fashion Week's media team, caught me during the intermission of the show, and she stopped me to say, "It was really impactful that you didn't hide your models." And I wish it wasn't the case that that was like a big deal. I don't think it should be a big deal that I sent models down the runway and the clothes fit them correctly. And yeah, I'm a student night, so obviously we're still learning. My clothes didn't fit them perfectly. There are things that going forward, I'm going to do differently. I'm really proud of the work I put out, and I'm already starting to plan my next collections. I've already got things in motion, but I wish it wasn't the case that what I want to do is different than the industry standard, but it is different. If enough designers like me are pushing the industry a little bit more towards inclusion, that someday a Midwest fashion student putting a collection down the runway of 6 different sizes is not a big deal. I would really love it if you all follow me on this journey. I want to do more fashion and political and styling videos alongside some of the other stuff I've done in the past. Again, fashion is political, and it's up to us whether or not we want to acknowledge that it is. But if you want to follow along, you can follow along by subscribing here. You should definitely do that. You can follow me on Instagram at Emma B. Miller, and you can also follow my professional Instagram where I will be posting more portfolio stuff. You can see a lot of runway photos and photos of other work that I've done, and I would love to see you all over there as well. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all next time. Toodles! I'm not getting off the bed fast enough. I would just like to lay down, but I have to finish packing it on my wall. A little sneaky little Debbie. My Summit Cola diet. It's too late in the day for coffee, so